you all were able to join us. Perhaps a few more will be trickling in, but we'll go ahead and get started. So our agenda for today is to share a couple of resources with you. Hopefully these are not news to you, but we like to make sure everybody is aware of all the stuff that's out there. So in case it was news to you, now you will know. So we had a couple of things regarding Slack and then a few other resources. But mostly we want this time to be for you, to be able to ask questions, share tips, talk about whatever is on your mind with each other. But before we get into all of that, we just wanted to do a fun poll, just a couple of questions to get to know you a little bit better. So you have the QR code there if you want to use your phone. There is the code if you want to just go directly to menti.com. And I will also paste in the chat the link. All right, there's the link. Give everybody a second here to get logged in. Roshni, are you going to present the poll as well?
I just realized that as I was like logging on my phone, I'm like, wait a second, am I supposed to do something with this? I think you might actually need to.
I need to. Okay.
It's probably gonna make me like log into Menti.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you stop sharing and I'll take the screen share.
And while you do that, it looks like we've got some new folks in the room. I know Michael McCusker from San Diego TUG just published your first event as part of the co-lead team there. Don't know if any of the other folks are new TUG leaders, but welcome everyone.
Well, we're about to find out. That's one of my questions.
Oh, what?
Good foreshadowing.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and start this. So the code is, well, the link is in the chat and the code is at the top of the screen. So hopefully you all are able to get in there. All right, first question, in fact, is how long have you been a TUG leader? Right in the middle. Ooh, here's some ends. I do love the animation they do here. Everybody loves a bar chart race, right? Yes, few fellow 5+ years. That's where I'm at. Coming up on 8, everybody. I'm so excited. September will be my 8-year TUG-iversary, TUG leader anniversary.
Wow, HE TUG we're starting year 5 in July. So
nice.
Very excited.
Nobody in that 6 to 11. Interesting. All right, I see a few of you logged in but haven't answered yet. So I'll give you just a little bit longer here. Yeah, lots of milestones. Why not a pie chart in 3D? I think you know the answer to that, Tora. I mean, first of all, I don't think pie chart was an option in this poll. But second of all,
pies and donuts are good for eating. They are not good for charting. Same with waffle charts.
Oh, I don't know.
Some people say don't use any charts that have food in them.
Stephen Few I don't remember if maybe it's like Now You See Me. In one of his books, he's got a paragraph. One of the few things that I've taken pictures of is that the donut or pie chart plus his little statement, and it became part of a Halloween costume for me a few years ago.
Nice.
Very excited about it.
I do like a lollipop. I'm with you. All right, let's move on to the next item. Second question, are you having, or is your TUG having an event this summer? We would be in the already did bucket. We just had our Q2 event on June 12th. Whew, so glad we pulled that off. That was quite an undertaking. And although we're going to be doing a few activities this summer, I am going to sit back and watch you all do the hard work. Yeah, we got a few coming up in the next 4 weeks and several a little further out, but it looks like most, oh, you know what? I just realized I didn't give you a no option. You know why? Because you should all be having an event. I guess if it's none of the above, just don't answer. Oh, thanks, Tammy. Glad to hear you enjoyed it. Tammy attended our Madison TUG event. All right, looks like lots of busyness this summer. All right, next question. Did you already join the new Slack community? You did, you didn't, or you don't know what I'm talking about. Let's hope nobody's in that bucket. But if you are, we got you covered. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Oh, look at all these yeses. Good job, folks. Okay, a couple people need to get on it.
And the link is in the chat right now. You can do it while you can multitask while you Menti.
Good work. Okay, looks like most of you have, a couple people will, but glad to see that at least all of you knew what this was referring to. And last question, in a word or two, or maybe three, making a word cloud here. Also, maybe not Viz best practice, but will be fun to see it. How are you feeling these days about being a TUG leader? Yeah, excited. Fun. Data fam love. Ooh, look at all these words coming. Oh my goodness, the animation's a bit much on this one. Tone it down, Minty. Privilege, not stress, loving the community, keen to share, blessed, enjoy, stretch, need to be better dressed. Oh, I'm intrigued by that one. Whoever put that, I feel like we need a follow-up.
And was this related to the CCC TUG, HE TUG, Accessibility TUG event? That was all 80s on Wednesday of last week.
Oh, fun.
Was
Could
it?
be.
It could be.
Not stress. Oh, we got an anxious. Okay. Well, you're in the right place. We are here to help each other. Motivated, love. Oh, these are so great. All right. Laura, you want to grab a screenshot of that maybe? This is pretty cool.
Yes, such a good idea.
Whoever put the heart emoji in, bonus points for using your emojis there. All right. That was great. I love it. That was our last question. Just wanted to keep it brief and to the point, but it's always fun to get to know you all a little bit better. I guess I could have asked. I suppose I could have kept sharing.
I'll switch it over. So Yamela asks in the chat, is Mentimeter free? And the answer is yes, it is. But I believe there used to be, I'm not sure if there still is, a limit on the number of respondents you can have. Is it still 50?
Yeah, 50 in a month, which is great for a small group like this.
And
all right,
if you have multiple co-leads, you know, you could do, and you need more than 50 in a month for different Menti polls. You've got that option. Just throwing that out there.
It's a good point. I also realized I neglected to mention that it is the last day of June, which is also last day of Pride Month. So I'm happily wearing my Data Pride Tableau shirt to support our LGBTQ plus friends. Hi, y'all. Hopefully you've had a good summer so far, everybody. I cannot believe it's July tomorrow. Absolutely cannot believe it. The time just flies. But back to our agenda here. So one of the resources that you may not be aware of is this really great welcome page that is not geared just to TUG leaders. This is for anybody who's wanting to learn more about Tableau. It's kind of streamlining the point of entry into learning about Tableau. So let's go ahead and want to pull that up. Roshni, do you have that handy, that link? I'll put that in the chat as well so other people can follow along. Yeah, thank you. So it kind of gives people some suggestions of where they might begin if they are a little bit newer to the community, some ways to connect with others, some places they can learn. So we're pointing this out so that you all, of course, can go here. Maybe there's some things you weren't aware of, and also to help promote this in your TUGs. So we know TUGs draw from a variety of people based on their Tableau background. Some people are really new, some people are more experienced. And so it's good to provide resources that hit all of those groups. So this is a good one for people who are a little bit newer to the Tableau community. Nice and streamlined, got a lot of resources on there. Oh, sorry, I did say I put that in the chat, didn't I? And I absolutely did not.
I already threw that in there. And I'm just going to add that I had a whole bunch of people come up to me last week after, like, in the networking, the post-event networking portion of the Boston and Mass Higher Ed TUG, and you would not believe how many people were like, "Oh, wait, these programs exist. Oh, there's more stuff here." And so this URL, or even just tableau.com/community, are like, they're very good resources for folks who are just, you know, coming to their first TUG meeting, or even if they've been at many TUG meetings, they may just not know all of what's out here with the community projects and things like that. So it's a great resource.
Yeah, good point, David. If you don't know, you don't know. Exactly right. You don't even know what you might be missing out on. I've been in the Tableau community for a long time, and I would be willing to bet there's at least one thing in there I was not aware of. So it's good for all of us and a good reminder. All right.
And did you notice at the very top of this page, there's even a link to join the Tableau communities on Slack, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, always be selling.
Always be
Got one
selling.
more day.
I like it. Our next item, just wanted to point out a couple of things from the TUG Leader Slack. So hopefully you all are noticing at least these trios. Laura, I thank you so much for doing those. It's really helpful to have a quick, easy, digestible, hey, did you remember or did you notice these three things? So the most recent one was, as we've been saying a couple of times now here, the TUG Leader Slack workspace that we've been using is going away tomorrow. So sounds like they're not turning it off immediately, but they're not going to be letting anybody make comments or posts on there anymore. It'll be only in read-only mode. We should all be migrating over to the new Slack community, which was announced at TC and has already gotten thousands of people registered. There are a lot of channels, so I acknowledge it can be a little bit overwhelming. We are happy to walk through some of the content out there if that would be of use of you all. But for the two of you who said you haven't joined yet, please go ahead and do that. Please encourage your TUG members and your co-leads to join us over in the new Slack community space and stop using the TUG Leader workspace we have been using. Also, you should have all gotten the invite to the next TUG Leader quarterly call, which should be July 7th. So a little bit more structured with info coming from Tableau, less about this peer-led type of format, but there'll be some good content there as well. And then TUG Tips Live, we are doing that today. So yay, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate having you here and love sharing tips and tricks with you all.
And one tip and trick we'd like to share is a reminder of the TC25 Community Encore TUG series. So if you go to the Slack canvas that I just posted in the chat, which will open in the Tableau community Slack, you can find out more about this series. The really cool part of it is that it makes it possible for your event to get a little bit more promotion outside of all the normal ways that the Tableau community team shares events with internal folks internal to Tableau and Salesforce, like account execs and sales and solutions engineers, but also externally. So there's a list of all of these upcoming events that are either doing encores from Tableau conference talks or just talking about Tableau conference content in general. So you can see, again, this is just a handful, and then somewhere there used to be a list of completed events as well. But it's a really great place for people to go again and just learn more about what happened at TC after the fact in case they missed it. So I think I'm trying to switch back to, there we go. And the canvas that apparently is not opening in my browser that I'm trying to show you guys. Here we go. There we go. The canvas here has all of the information about what counts, and there's a really easy form. Once you've set up your event in Bevy, you can just share the link in that form. And there's pre-made content, all sorts of resources, all contained within this TUG series, TC25 Community Encore Canvas channel. Again, one-stop shopping as much as possible. The other type of one-stop shopping, sorry, I'm trying to like switch between pages. You guys know this. You guys know I'm trying to share multiple things at once. It's,
right.
It's hard.
We've all been there. Absolutely. You're doing great.
All right. So the other thing that we want to talk about is the Tableau user group, the TUG Leader Hub on Bevy. Again, there's information about that TC Encore. There's links to the most recent quarterly call, all the upcoming events, including those Q2 user group leader calls that Jen mentioned earlier, and a bunch of resources. We found some of the resources we're about to share in this user group, slides for user group events button, which opens up a Google Drive set of slides. It's like, I don't know, 100 slides or something ridiculous like that. 90, yeah, only 90.
Only 90. Yeah, but they're so good. They're already branded and they're nice and creative and colorful. We definitely pulled from these for our recent event as well. I love having these.
Yeah, so one of the things we wanted to share was this promotion for the idea exchange. So back in the day, Tableau had its own ideas forum where you could post ideas, upvote them, talk about them with others. All of those Tableau ideas have moved, and I am not sharing the right screen. There we go. The Ideas Exchange. All of the ideas have moved over, or at least the ones that are going to move have moved over to the Salesforce Idea Exchange, ideas.salesforce.com. Anything that you're looking for, if you posted it in the past, go look for it here. Promote any ideas that either you or your Tableau user group community have posted. One thing that we want to promote specifically for TUGs is that there's a couple of ideas that Eric Howard threw into the Idea Exchange for us around there's a couple of ideas that Eric threw out there about TUGs. So getting both public channels for TUGs as well as private TUG leader channels so that we can plan our TUGs more effectively. I am seeing a note from Celia. Can you increase the share on the canvas? What was that about? Oh, okay, never mind. Celia's in.
Yeah. For some reason, it was delayed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. You do have to like log in. I think that's probably some of these links that I've shared may not work as seamlessly if you're not logged in. But go to the Idea Exchange, vote on these if you think that they're useful to you or your TUG, and get a little bit more visibility on Tableau user groups this way. And then I'm gonna switch this over to Jen.
Yeah, the other big announcement I want to make sure you all were aware of is that the nomination process for next year's cohort of ambassadors has opened. So you can nominate somebody else who you think has been just a rock star in the community. You can nominate yourself. That is absolutely welcomed. Nobody knows the work that you've done like you do. And there are a few changes to the program this year that maybe you weren't aware of. So one of them is that they are not doing the specific branches of ambassadorship as they have done in the past. Now, I don't know about you, but one of my first thoughts about that is, oh my gosh, now they expect us to be awesome at absolutely everything. But that is not the intention. Nobody is expecting you to be equally good at everything that an ambassador could feasibly be good at. Instead, it's more about recognizing that people who are really invested in this community don't necessarily stay in one lane. And that's wonderful and that's welcomed. So maybe you enjoy responding to questions on the forums and leading a user group. Maybe you're really great at data dev and development and extensions and things like that. And also looking at Tableau Public. Yeah, leading a user group. I know I didn't want to make every example leading a user group, although that is, of course, my favorite. But it's just more recognizing that people have multiple talents and interests and skills, and that ambassadors are really about increasing the visibility of the product and making everybody in the community feel welcome. And all of that is still the same, the basic mission. We're just not now siloed into these specific groups. Another upside of that is that once somebody is an ambassador, they will then have opportunities that used to be limited to specific ambassador types. So for example, the social ambassadors were maybe more involved with welcoming people into the community, and the public ambassadors are more involved in picking visit of the day, and the TUG leader ambassadors are more involved in mentoring. Well, now there can be a lot more cross-utilization where somebody can help somebody out in whatever way works for them. So I think that's really interesting, and I think it'll be cool to see how that works out. It'll also mean that the ambassadors are more working together. So although we definitely did interact with other ambassadors, I'm currently a TUG ambassador, there were also TUG-specific ambassador calls, and now there will be all ambassador calls. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this program develops. I certainly appreciate Tableau always trying to refine the process and making it work better for everybody. There's a snazzy new logo to go with the new changes. And if you want to learn more about the differences and what this upcoming year will look like, you can go to the site and the QR code. And we absolutely encourage you to nominate people who you think are doing an amazing job and nominate yourself if you want to continue supporting the community. So you do have about a month to get those applications and nominations in. If you are nominating somebody else, you do not need to know a whole lot of information about them. Somebody who is nominated will receive communication from Tableau and have the opportunity to round out their application. So nomination is pretty minimal in terms of what's required. They need to be able to get a hold of that person and know who you're nominating. I think it's great to say why you're nominating them, but you don't have to include all of the fields that are in the form about their various socials and websites and whatever. They can fill that info in once they have been nominated. So don't let that discourage discourage you from nominating somebody. You don't need a whole lot of info in order to do it. And I think it's great to recognize somebody that you think is doing a great job.
Yep, and nominating someone else, it really takes like a minute tops. As long as you have some way to contact them, it takes about a minute tops to get that information into the form for the Tableau community team to follow up with them on.
So yeah, get those nominations in. And that is the end of our prepared content. So now we want to turn it over to you all. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to learn about? What do you want to share with us? Anything you want to show? We would be happy to turn over the screen sharing to you. If you have any how-tos that we didn't cover, that would be great. I have a question for the group. We are in the midst of compiling a list of do not forget to do this at every event list, because there's always something that, oh, we'll remember that, and we don't remember it. And so my specific example is at our most recent meeting, I had every intention of noting our swag winners so that we could give them a shout out in our recap. And I only remembered 3 of them, and nobody thought to write it down. So that is our lesson learned. Write down your swag winners at every event. So if you have a tip like that, it may seem tiny and trivial to you, but it might just be something that is a great reminder for everybody else. I would love to hear your tips along those lines, big or small. And then, of course, like I said, anything that you want to chat about, let's chat.
So we had one. We're about to hit year 5 for the HE TUG, but and all the videos are on YouTube in the DataFam channel, except for one, because someone, raising hand right here, forgot to hit the record button.
Oh,
Right. So
yeah.
after that incident, or at least we think that's what happened. We're not entirely sure. But after that incident, we added a slide like for our virtual meetings, like right after, we play music at the beginning of our meeting, and then we have like that intro slide to kick off the meeting, the first part that's actually recorded. So right before that slide, we have a don't forget to hit record reminder. People seem to be okay with it. No one's complained that we have this extra slide in there, but it is super helpful in case we actually do forget to just hit the record button.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I don't know if you saw Chris McClellan, who's been processing the videos on behalf of all the TUGs, is willing to experiment with doing more of that video prep. So if you start the recording before you actually want it to be included, he is going to start trimming that out so that then that slide won't even be there. That whole beginning, you can just record as soon as you start your meeting, and he'll trim it all out. So that's another potential avenue. But yeah, you're right. You still have to remember at some point to hit the record button or record your meeting. There's that option in Bevy, to have it automatically record, which I know a lot of us have been reluctant to do, because then they get our chit chat and our tech checks and our music and things that shouldn't be in the final recording.
But can Chris add back what we forgot to record? Unfortunately, no, at least not without some extra AI help and a good memory from everyone involved about what was discussed.
Yeah, easier to trim out something you don't need than to manufacture content you didn't record in the first place. All right, what else? Who's got a tip for us? What's something that works that you are either trying to improve upon? Maybe you struggle with a certain area yourself. Yeah, Tora.
That was more a follow-up on the video thing, because I will also I don't like that it's starts the recording 15 minutes before, so I stop it, and then I tend to almost forget it to turn it on again. But so that our friend from Australia doesn't have to edit all our 300 videos a month. When I'm downloading the local version, you can have a Windows computer and you have Clipchamp or whatever it's called. It takes you 2 minutes to just edit out the end, the beginning, and even something in the end if you want to before you share it. So it's not a lot of work to do that. And when we had our last session, we did supposed to be a transformation Tuesday that ended up being a workout Wednesday on a Monday. So we switched it around a bit, but it was hands-on. So we weren't in front of the video all the time and walked around and helped people. So I then went through and edit and get rid of all just the screen where nothing happened. So it doesn't take too long, and you don't have to be a TikTok, YouTube star to edit those in this Clipchamp or whatever it's called. It's very easy.
Do you find your video quality stays good though? We did experiment with that, but then found that when we uploaded our video, it was kind of choppy and it wasn't good quality anymore.
Yeah, so far I haven't seen any big loss. You can decide on what quality when you save it off as well. So for me, so far it's been good at least.
Okay, well, thanks for the tip. And Viraj, thank you for that info as well. How Chris has been editing. Good to know.
Yeah, and I'll add that like we've also edited content from the middle of our sessions. Like when we have a wheel of names and are giving away raffle prizes. Like I don't know, I feel weird putting a bunch of people's names on the screen and having them in the recording for perpetuity. So we always try to edit out that section as well. But it's really quick to actually do the edits. You might be waiting a while for the video to finish processing after you've made the edits, but the edits themselves are usually pretty quick. So.
Yeah. Has anybody experimented? I keep meaning to try this in heaven with stopping the recording and starting it again in the same Bevy session. Will it basically just pause and pick back up onto the same recording? Anybody know? Viraj, I feel like that is your wheelhouse. You seem to know all things Bevy. Do you happen to know the answer to that one? Or anybody?
Since I never use Bevy, except for these. I was gonna ask, like, is there a pause as well as a stop? Because I know in Zoom you can pause or stop the recording. Yeah. And if you stop it, then it's two different files. But if you pause it, it's a single file. I wonder if Bevy has that.
Not that I'm aware of. I usually just see stop and start. Maybe it's something we can request as a feature. And I also wonder from a video creation standpoint, if stitching two videos together, just play this one, then immediately play that one and make that one video is easier than finding the part you want to cut and trimming it precisely. So it might still be worth doing. Apparently I have some more experimenting to do here.
Or maybe if someone else experiments with some of the stuff, they can come talk about it at a future Tug Tips Live. Always welcome.
Always welcome. Yeah. Similar to your name concern, sometimes we'll take a break. If we have a longer meeting, we might just do a quick 5-minute, go refill your beverage, go to the restroom, whatever. And we don't really want that 5-minute just dead time in the recording, but I've been afraid to start and stop. And it looks like I shouldn't have. If you stop, they will make 2 videos. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. That is a bummer. I would like that handled differently. And I'm going to request Bevy give us a pause button. Sounds like that some other people would appreciate that too. I certainly haven't seen it, Candace, but you're right. Zoom has already figured this out. So maybe Bevy can have similar technology. All right, other tips for us. What are some things that you have either learned the hard way or just might be useful for the rest of us to know?
So Tora and David recently did something that boosted virtual participation, and that is co-hosting. Because David, if you want to come off mute, if you can, feel free to, or I can just talk about the K-12 tug that I missed, unfortunately. All right, so
I missed it. I missed it as well, but
I love that we co-hosted, but in so yeah, the K-12 tug had an entire session that was all around mapping. Rob Kramer did his TC25 encore on total eclipse of the chart redistricting using Tableau dashboards and sets and set actions, and it was an amazing talk. But then there were a couple of other folks at the K-12 tug also talking about mapping features in Tableau, and so through the magic of just multiple eyes seeing this thing and being like, hey, there's a data plus maps tug too. The K-12 tug and the data plus mapping tug, is that the right? Am I naming it correctly?
Yeah, data plus maps.
Data plus maps tug. They got together and did a co-host, and we're able to expose new tugs to other folks, and also just get that content in front of a lot more people, which is awesome. So co-hosting is amazing. It helps us do more, and maybe phone in a couple of tug meetings if we need to. This is being recorded. These are things I shouldn't say out loud.
Edit that one out. Yeah, thank you. That's a great tip. I I have co-hosted once, but it is something that I could probably be doing more of. You're right. We probably have some shared interests and overlapping audiences. Or sorry,
Yes.
not overlapping audience, overlapping interests, where we could bring both of our audiences together.
And we did something similar for the Boston TUG and the Mass Higher Ed TUG, our official last Mass Higher Ed TUG meeting ever, or unless someone else starts to revamp it. But we did a little co-host at MIT, and a couple of really cool things came out in the conversations that we were having afterwards. First off, it was right before the Agent First World Tour in Boston, and Preeti mentioned that, you know, the Salesforce folks sent out some trailhead information about how to improve your presentation skills, because that was a question that a lot of the folks who were attending were asking about. They're like, okay, like I get kind of freaked out presenting in front of a bunch of people. My presentations are not as polished as the ones I saw today, which included a TC talk, a Salesforce demo of Tableau Next, and another talk on community groups. And it was just there, you know, there's a little bit of an, oh no, I can't do this, but really, oh yes, you can. So I wanted to point out these two trailheads, and I put links in the chat. And then the other thing that came up was just, you know, we talked earlier about that community welcome page. The community projects are all over, you know, the the interwebs. And so there's a page for community projects and the data dev program. Doing just a really brief demo of that community projects page, or talking about the data dev program, you know, a 5-minute thing, can really help expose these projects to a bunch of folks who are brand new to Tableau, or relatively new to Tableau, or new to the community. And then you can sort of use that to get folks to come back and talk about their experiences. You know, like, I participated in this one workout Wednesday. Here's what the original thing was. Here's what I learned from it. Like a very quick, like, you know, the content because you just did it type presentation, you know, from someone who maybe otherwise wouldn't have a work Tableau thing to talk about, or something else on Tableau Public. But they would have whatever it is that came out of their participation in the community project. So I'm just going to throw these links into the chat as well.
Yeah, great point. I really like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. I think we're struggling sometimes. We would love for more of our members to present. And it does feel like either everybody's too intimidated or doesn't feel like they have something worthwhile to talk about. But this is a great example of, first, you tell them about some things they can do and ways to get involved. And then hopefully they can come speak about it because they have something that's fresh and they just learned about. So I love that.
Does anyone else have any sessions that have gone well that they'd like to talk about? Other sessions or a presentation?
Y'all being very modest. I bet you've had some amazing events.
Well, since nobody's saying anything, we also talked about co-hosting. We've been doing that in Norway for some years. We've done a Scandinavian TUG, and then we've expanded to Nordic TUG. So that we did last year, 5 countries, or one speaker from 5 countries, for each country, and then a keynote. And we're going to do the same thing in November, where we're going to try to get one speaker for all 5 countries to do like a 10-15-minute session. And then we got those ball twins from the States. You've probably seen them before. So they're going to be the keynote this year. But we're still waiting for, we have a date, but we're still waiting for Tableau to decide the date and time for the Data Fam Europe, if and when, so that we don't clash with that one. that's a fun thing to do, to collaborate with multiple countries, and then we do in person in some of those countries. So we meet up and we watch the big screen, and we have a speaker locally, and then the rest of the people sign in virtually as well.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that when y'all did it before. That is amazing. What a logistical feat to pull that off, to get all the tech oriented and your speakers. And do you have to worry about time zones much when you do that multi-country collaboration?
No, not in. It's just it's 2 hours, 3 hours from Iceland to Finland actually. So there is some, especially for those people who are doing it in person, we have to make sure that it's like after work hours, so that they can meet up and have a beer and a pizza. But it's still, it worked nice last time. We realized that we're probably going to add in like a 50-minute break or something in between, because if you go like back to back, and people need to stretch their legs a bit. And the tech worked pretty well, I have to say. We get those speakers to be presenters, so we just switch the screens like you do in every ordinary virtual one. And then of course locally we have a big screen with sound and everything, so people can hear as well.
Yeah,
so
wonderful.
that worked pretty well. The biggest challenge was to get Tableau to figure out how we could get the reimbursement, on how we should share the reimbursement, because some people, like when we do co-hosting, some people from the Finnish TUG sign up on the Norwegian page, and some from the Norwegian page sign up on the Swedish one. So who could claim whatever people, and how could we share that? And I still don't think that it worked out well for us. We got everything reimbursed, but back in the day when we actually had alcohol as well. But I'm not sure if they still have found like a proper process of solving that. So I think it's more on a case-to-case basis.
Yeah, right. With some in-person events, if it were all virtual, that'd be one thing. But to have some in-person interspersed there, I could see that'd be really complicated from a reimbursement perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
if you end up
get
being
local
lucky enough,
sponsors for the alcohol.
excellent. I was gonna say, if you end up being able to co-host in a single space, it really doesn't. I was able to use the Mass Higher Ed tag to do the reimbursements, even though the page was created on the Boston tug one. But again, we were all in the same space. There was no virtual component at all. It was all one location. Tori, you mentioned something that I found interesting. So the idea of having that break in the middle, something that we have struggled with in basically every virtual or every in-person or hybrid tech that I have participated in is, when do you do networking? Like, some folks will do networking at the beginning, the first 15 minutes, half hour of official scheduled time is networking. Some people will do a break in the middle. Some folks will sort of end out the meeting with networking. So what have people found to be successful in terms of when you put your networking, and how intentional you are about, are there questions? Is there, are you playing a bingo, find someone who, speaks 5 languages or whatever, or like, what have you found to be successful to really encourage networking at your events?
Well, what we do in Norway, at least, we have the in-person hybrid thing every time. So we start up with pizza, beer, and sodas, and networking before we begin, so people can mingle and talk. Then we do whatever program we have, and very often end up with not a Kahoot anymore, but some kind of quiz or something. And then for those who want to go home, they go home, and for whatever money we have left on the budget, we go to a close or nearby pub and mingle as well. So we see that, like the usual crowd, the usual suspects that always show up, they will always also be part of the after hours, or after the meeting. Whilst some people, they meet up in the beginning, get the pizza and the drinks and the agenda, and then they leave. But that depends, of course, on the whatever other things they have on the agenda for that day.
You're basically doing networking all the way across.
I know.
You got
That's
a
what I was
networking
noting from that.
Yeah, basically.
That's
That's
great.
the whole point of these tugs, isn't it? To share and to meet other people and to network. That's my idea of these tugs, at least.
Yeah, it's a big part for sure. I recently attended the Data Plus Women New York event, and they did a hybrid. So they had their networking first and then started the presentations and started the Bevy event. And that seemed to work better than I was expecting. I was actually a little worried that they would get kind of carried away with the networking part and not start the online portion on time. And those of us who are waiting for the online portion would just be sitting there. Are they starting? Are they not? But they were within a few minutes of what they had said would be the start time. So kudos to the Data Plus Women New York TUG for pulling that off.
Yeah, Laura mentions that the Northwest TUG does a pass the parcel. Is that the thing where you have a parcel that's like wrapped in multiple layers of newspaper gift wrap, and each person like takes off a layer and says something or does something? So you can, in between those layers, you can add in. I feel like I've heard you talk about this before, Laura. So like in between, you can add in like a question or a note or like some sort of like fun thing for the person to react to, right?
Yeah, it just kind of like gets a bit of, like things can be a little bit forced sometimes, like when you want people to network and they're all quiet coming in. And by opening it up with that or having that like midway through, people are having to like turn around and talk to the person next to them a little bit and have a bit of a laugh, like of what's coming out next. Charlotte said, is it just a UK thing, past the parcel? I don't know. I think Roshni, you knew about it there.
But I also
She
think
got
I
UK
learned
thing.
about it when I was in a British international school in the Middle East. So I am not a a good gauge on is this US or not.
It's like a standing item at a child's party, at a birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely
I
like
had not heard of it.
Oh, okay.
I can't speak for all of America or US either, but I had not heard of that. It sounds pretty fun.
Oh, it sounds like Tora does it as well. Yeah, it is. It's like, I mean, it's obviously a kid's thing usually, but like they'll put in like stickers like on every layer, like instead of doing the sweets, and they'll do like a bigger swag prize at the end, and just little bits of things. But it does get that kind of like conversation, like because then as you're going around the past parcel, people can then like kids, I'm sure, I mean, a little bit, people can then like like have a little bit of a chat, say where they're from or whatever. So it just gives you, you can get, if you say if it lands on you. It just gives the opportunity for the host to be like, oh, so where are you from? Where do you work? And just to get that a bit of conversation going before then they have that pizza session.
Who gets the item in the center?
Whoever it lands on at the end. So there's music on, and
it's
the
like
music
musical
pauses.
chairs, kind of.
Yes.
Oh.
And then it'll be like a more premium swag prize that's the main item. So everyone wants it to like land on them.
Very cool. Thanks for that suggestion. I had not heard of that.
I will say the Boston TUG did a really cool bingo thing. Like there's a bingo board. You have to get 5 in a row in some variation or another, of things like how long have you been using Tableau, or find someone who's been using the Tableau or has been using Tableau for less than 6 months or more than 6 months, or is a data dev or has worked on this community project or that one or whatever it was. Like I don't remember what all the items were, but they did something like that at the event they had at the Salesforce Tower last October, I want to say. And that was also pretty good because they had so much swag to give away. Like as long as you got your bingo, you got a piece of swag, and it was a notebook or pens or stickers. But I definitely I wrote down, I don't do the whole LinkedIn or socials or anything, but I definitely wrote down email addresses of multiple people to contact after that, which is not something I normally do at a TUG. But it was a really great way to just get people talking to each other, because you're looking for someone who you have to talk to multiple people to get to someone who meets whatever box it is that you're trying to check off.
Yeah, I love those social bingos. That's a great idea too.
Me and Laura did that last year at Tableau. Was it called Tableau on Tour London or whatever it was in London, when we hosted a meetup for TUG leaders. I don't know if any of the European TUG leaders remember that. We had the little bingo cards and let's go find people. It seemed popular.
Great. Yeah, I feel like we could crowdsource the items and then we could all pull from them to make our own bingo cards, the ones that seemed to get a lot of conversation going.
And I remember David found this when we were working on our slides for the education meetup at Tableau conference, but one of the other meetup hosts, they had done something similar. They had gotten like they'd, to help with networking because it really is like it's the better part of an hour that you're all just in there. There is no content other than, hey, go sign up for a user group. So for the better part of the hour, there was just a bingo board on the screen for folks to go around and meet the other people in whatever group it was at that meetup. That was pretty good. I don't think that we ended up using it, but we had that as in our back pockets.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe this could be our topic for now then, how to get people to mingle and network a little bit. We've tried what we call birds of a feather, where we'll set out little table tents of different, might be industry. So let's get all the public sector folks over here and all the government folks over there. We've tried that at our meetings, not for quite a while, but we used to do that more often. And we often will use a board game. So our group tends to like things like Charty Party. For those of you who haven't seen that, it's a graph with an X and Y axis and then a pattern, some sort of one line chart. And then you draw cards and I'm forgetting exactly how this works. But anyway, you're trying to label the X and Y axes with something kind of silly, like which two things would make this pattern. So it might be how outgoing you are based on how much coffee you've had or something like that. And our group, thank you. Our group really enjoys that game. That has been pretty popular at our after event networking events. We'll break out a game like this and whoever wants to can participate. We usually don't follow the rules of the game in terms of scoring. More people will play till they're done playing. But we have a bit of a collection we've acquired over the years, either for our TUG or our TUG leaders will acquire a game and then we can pull one or more of them out and it gets people interacting with each other, which is pretty fun. And some laughs too. That's always nice when you hear people laughing and having a really good time. Is it called Venn? There's one that's a Venn diagram version. I'm reading the title of that one. I'm terrible at this. I will share it later. That has been fun too. I just bought Wavelength recently where you have dichotomous words. So it might be evil and pure, or it might be hideous and beautiful, whatever. And then there's a wheel and it's mostly white, but there's a little sliver that's colored. And so the person who's giving the clues spins the wheel randomly and then looks at it and sees where the colored band ends up. And then they've got their two opposing words. And so their job is to give a clue based on where the colored part ends up. So maybe it's way over on the hideous side. And so now my job as the clue giver would be to give a clue that gets people to guess something closer to hideous. So then they're going to move a little marker where they think the wheel ended up. And then we reveal it and see how close they got. That was pretty fun. We haven't done that at the TUG yet. I just bought this game, but I'm really excited to try it out. But if any of you
this one?
That is one we have played. Yeah, but that's not the one that I was thinking of. It's a different one. There's so many games that are data related. If you just start looking for them, it's actually pretty impressive. So yeah, I would love to hear how you all do networking. 4 corners. Okay. Choose a topic, divide it in 4 categories. And then people go, oh, nice. Yeah, we did that with just 2 options. So do you prefer containers or floating? That kind of thing. I like the 4 quadrant idea even better. Awesome. Thank you for that tip. That sounds fun. What do the rest of you all do to actually get people talking and interacting? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I attended one TUG in New York. So how they did it was they had an inner circle and an outer circle, and it was like a speed networking session. And the TUG leaders, they posted questions. There was like pretty simple questions like what was the recent cool project that you're working on or something like that. And the circle turns for every question, and we had a time limit for each question for both of us to answer. I felt that was pretty cool too. Like we at least networked with say 12 people in that 1 hour session. So that was pretty great.
Yeah, I like that. And then maybe people aren't quite so intimidated when they know it's really time boxed. You don't have to try to make conversation with a stranger for 10 minutes. You just need 30 seconds or 1 minute or whatever. Thank you. I like that idea.
And I like the idea of making it sort of work related, because usually with work stuff you can talk about it, like you don't have to you don't have to really think about it too much. I have been in some events where when we've tried to go, not necessarily a TUG meeting, but other like icebreakery events where if you try to go too social, you can see the group of people who just are like, I'm done with this. Whereas if you bring it back to work, people, or whatever the topic at hand is, like people are more likely to be able to participate and want to participate. So there's always a balance, and you really gotta sort of try things out with your TUG and know to learn what works well, or even ask. You can. A lot of us, will send out the emails when our video recordings are available or whatnot, but you can always use the email feature in Bevy to reach out to your TUG to ask, like, what are you looking for? Like, what can we do better? What can we do differently? What kinds of networking ideas do you guys have? And maybe would you be willing to lead a networking event at a future TUG event? That way you're again bringing in more of the, do you like that one? Like put the onus back on the TUG member to come back and sort of share. Because again, you get a little bit more participation, and it's something that at least one person's gonna like.
Yeah.
And
get used to silence. That's a good point. That's a good tip, David. You're right. People don't necessarily want to be the first to chime in with something. You do have to be comfortable with giving people time to absorb it, think on it, and speak up. Yeah, that's a great point, Roshni. We've tried to get people to come speak, but you're maybe getting them to do something much more low key of leading a networking event or an icebreaker or something might be a way to get more people comfortable with the idea of speaking in front of the TUG. And then maybe that will be the foot in the door, the gateway to speaking on something more substantial.
It's the gateway drug to tugging, but all sorts of things that again should not be recorded.
Anyone else have a networking tip for us?
Or any other tips?
Or yes, I was going to say that any other tip is always welcome too.
And now we'll count to 10 silently.
10's a lot.
But sometimes you need that much of a break.
Oh, good. AJ, I'm glad it's helpful.
Also, I had a question. So it's regarding requesting a mentor for the TUG. So how can we actually request a mentor if you want one?
That's a good question.
Oh yeah, bring it up. I was going to say there's a workflow for that, but you can show it.
And let's see if I can find it. That's always my challenge with the workflows. There we go. It's actually in multiple channels, but if you go to TUG announcements, you'll see this request mentorship workflow in the middle. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can actually see it. If you click the play button, it'll start a workflow. You'll go to it here, click another button. It is a couple steps, but basically you just fill out the form with as much information as you have. And if you have a specific mentor in mind that you know, a TUG ambassador that you want to be your mentor, you can pick them from the list. Or you can just let the TUG ambassadors who do match your interests sign on to be mentored by you. But there's information about, if you want to do something that's in language, or if you are leading, a new TUG versus someone who's been around for a while, you can put in your preference for communication, because a lot of folks, they don't use Slack that much, and are going to be much faster for email, that sort of thing. So there's all this stuff here. Again, if you just go to, I think it's basically any one of the TUG help channels, there's this workflow option, and you'll see request mentorship in there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Down to our last couple of minutes here. Any other questions or tips? Oh, a tip. A tip.
A tip. Oh yeah, you can go to automations up here. Nope. Go to the more on the left nav. Oh, yes, left nav. I'm really bad about directions. And if you see the automations button, you can see that there, and go to workflows, and you'll see all of the workflows that are part of the TUG space. While we're here, I just want to share a couple of these channels. If you were in the old TUG space, you probably saw there are a lot more channels. They have been condensed in this new space, but there's, again, a lot of workflows. There are bookmarks in most, if not every folder, and there's also some canvases that are shared with things like the important channels or whatever is relevant for that particular channel, so to sort of help you get started more quickly. And you can always go to TUG Help and send a message, or follow one of the workflows here, or go to TUG Help Top Tips if you want to share stuff. And yeah, with that, whoops, there we go. We want to thank you for joining us today. And again, if you're one of those 2 people who hasn't already joined the Tableau Community Slack, do it now, because tomorrow it's read only. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and we'll see you at the very least on the Tableau Community Slack and the TUG channels.
Yes, and hopefully at our next TUG Leader call and next month's TUG Tips, lots of opportunities for us to get together.
Exactly.
Thanks, Roshni. Thanks, Jane.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jen and Roshni.
You
Brilliant
bet.
as
Thanks,
always.
everyone.